Well, coming to you live from Angkasa Puri, Kuala Lumpur, I'm Muhammad Amin Carlos, and you're watching Updates at Noon. Well, making the headlines this afternoon, a flash floods warning issued in 6 states. Well, Selangor to set new SOP for camping activities. Good afternoon and salam perpaduan. Now, the number of flood victims at relief centres or PPS in Terengganu and Pahang continues to rise, while in Kelantan it has dropped as of 8 a.m. today, and in Johor and Terengganu, the number of evacuees remains the same as of last night. Well, in Terengganu, the Secretariat for the State Disaster Management Committee, or JBPN, said that the number of flood victims continues to increase from 36,009 people at midnight to 36,231 people this morning. Now, a total of 9,739 families are still seeking shelter at the 256 PPS in the 8 flood-affected districts, namely Kemaman, Besut, Dungun, Hulu Terengganu, Setiu, Kuala Nerus, Kuala Terengganu and Marang. In Pahang, the JPBN Secretariat said the number of flood victims showed a slight increase to 35 people from 30 people yesterday. In Kelantan, the JPBN Secretariat said that the number of flood victims has dropped to 30,115 people this morning from 30,551 people last night, and they are being accommodated at 119 PPS in 9 districts. Over in Johor, the JPBN Secretariat stated that the number of flood victims remained at 48 people this morning, and they were at 2 PPS in Segamat. Well, according to the Drainage and Irrigation Department, the water in 4 rivers in the state is still at the alert level. In Perak, the number of flood victims this morning remained at 26 people, involving 12 families in Bagandato. Flash floods may hit Johor, Pahang, Perak, Selangor, Terengganu and Sabah within 24 hours if there is heavy rain or significant thunderstorms, according to the National Flood Forecasting and Warning Centre, or PRABN, of the Drainage and Irrigation Department, the DID. Now, based on a notice issued by DID this morning, the areas that may be affected in Johor are Kota Tinggi around Sedili Kecil and Ulu Sungai Sedili Besar, Muar, as well as Mersing. In Pahang, it affects 3 districts, namely Kuantan at Bandar Kuantan, Hulu Kuantan, Kuala Kuantan, Pulau Manis and Sungai Karang, Maran and Pekan. Meanwhile, in Perak, 2 districts are expected to be affected, namely Bagandato and Hilir Perak, while in Selangor, it involves the Klang area. Now, for Terengganu, they are at Marang and Kuala Terengganu, while in Sabah, the areas are in Kampung Berunggis and Pekan Tenghilan in Tuaran. The notice was issued to enable residents, especially in the risk areas, to be aware of the possibility of flash floods during that period. Now, DID also reminded the public to always abide by the instructions issued by the authorities or flood disaster management agencies to prevent any untoward incident. Well, Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim gave his assurance that Phase 1 and 2 of the Sungai Golo Integrated River Basin Development, or PLSB project in Kelantan will be expedited without excessive costs. Well, in this regard, he said the project would be carried out through a limited tender. When met by reporters after visiting the temporary relief centre at Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Tengku Panglima Raja in Pasir Mas yesterday, the Prime Minister said the Department of Irrigation and Drainage, or DID, must submit a report on the Sungai Golok PLSB project to the Finance Ministry, the MOF, before the tender process starts.
Saya beri jaminan tentang langkah mempercepatkan projek Sungai Golok fasa pertama dan fasa kedua akan fast track untuk meluluskan dengan syarat ia bukan membina terus untuk menjamin supaya kos tidak meningkat.
We'll ask whether the allocation for Phase 1 and 2 of the Sungai Golok PLSB project would be reduced as it will be implemented through a limited tender. Judge Sri Anwar said it would depend on the tender. The Communications and Digital Ministry, or KKD, will be handing out contributions worth 1 million ringgit to flood victims in all states affected in the current calamity. In announcing the matter, Minister Fahmi Fadzil said the fund collection was via Tabung Bantuan Bencana KKD, contributed by various agencies under the ministry.
Pada ketika ini, kita masih mempunyai jumlah sebanyak 4.2 juta dalam bentuk tunai serta barangan dari syarikat telekomunikasi DG serta syarikat-syarikat yang lain yang bernilai RM500,000. Jadi bentuk sumbangan adalah secara tunai bagi isi rumah yang terkesan, dan kita juga menyediakan, ya, seperti yang kita lihat tadi, kotak barangan keperluan dan makanan bernilai RM200 setiap satu.
On internet access complaints and telephone lines at Temporary Relief Centres, or PPS, well, it said the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, MCMC, is prepared to provide and improve the utility for flood victims housed at the PPS. Well, the Selangor government will set new guidelines for camping activities in the state as soon as possible following the landslide incident at the Father's Organic Farm camping site in Batangkali on 16 December. Now, state's local department, public transport and new village development standing committee chairman Ng Zihan said this is because the local authorities, or PBT, do not have specific conditions for camping activities because they were mostly offered by resort operators.
Bancian itu telah bermula, tetapi dia bila dah sekarang sudah senarai the first batch sudah ada 60 lebih di kawasan Hulu Selangor, tetapi bancian itu belum disempurnakan lagi. Hulu Selangor masih menjalankan bancian buat masa ni.
Well, Ng said the state government is also seeking feedback from stakeholders in recreational and camping activities, such as entrepreneurs, recreational and camping associations, and government agencies. Well, it said the Hulu Selangor Municipal Council, or MPHS, will call other campsite operators to explain the guidelines for organising safe camping activities. Well, Ng added that only operators who comply with the guidelines will be accredited by the PBT and Tourism Selangor to carry out camping activities. On whether the owner of the Father's Organic Farm campsite should be held responsible for the tragedy, Ng said it is up to the police. Another 4 bodies have been recovered at the Father's Organic Farm campsite since the search and rescue mission from last week's deadly landslide resumed this morning. Now, this would leave only 3 victims still missing. Now, the 4 bodies have been placed on a police truck to be taken to the Sungai Buloh Hospital for a post-mortem. The operation, which has now entered its 7th day, was suspended at about 10 p.m. yesterday. The landslide tragedy that struck at 2:42 a.m. last Friday has so far left 30 people dead, 3 victims still missing, and 61 survivors out of the total of 94 people involved. Well, according to the Fire and Rescue Department, 29 of the victims were children, while the others of 65 were adults. Still to come, Employment Act amendment to be enforced at the beginning of the new year. Stay tuned. Well, the enforcement of the Employment Act 1955 Amendment 2022, which was previously postponed, will be implemented on 1st January next year. The Human Resources Minister V. Sivakumar said although there were calls from industries to extend the postponement period, there was also a need to enforce amendments to the Act. Apart from reducing working hours from 48 to 45 hours per week, the amended law will also increase maternity leave from 60 days to 98 days and paternity leave from 3 days to 7 days.
Kewajaran untuk majikan mendapatkan kelulusan penggajian pekerja asing daripada Ketua Pengarah JTKSM adalah kerana permohonan-permohonan yang ditolak sebelum ini susulan kegagalan majikan mematuhi undang-undang perburuhan.
Meanwhile, Siva Kumar said the Ministry of Human Resources, or KSM, would continue to work with the Ministry of Home Affairs, or KDN, to overcome the shortage of foreign workers issue. Siva Kumar also said that the one-channel system, which is an integrated channel for Malaysia and Indonesia for the recruitment of foreign workers to the country, will be placed under the KSM. Well, 6 Malaysians who were victims of a job scam criminal syndicate at the Thailand-Myanmar border have been brought home safely yesterday via Thai Airways flight TG415. Now, 2 of them are victims whose videos have been uploaded by Malaysia International Humanitarian Organization, or MHO, recently, while the rest were Thai immigration's detainees. Well, according to Pahang Consumer Affairs and Human Resources Committee Chairman Sim Chong Siang, all of them have been handed over to PDRM to assist with investigations.
Saya pergi dan kita uruskan semua benda, dokumen, hantar besok ke Bangkok. Besok ke Bangkok 9 jam duduk dalam kereta ke Bangkok dan kita uruskan. So, terima kasih kepada Kedutaan Besar Bangkok yang menolong kita dan menyelesaikan perkara ini.
Well, meanwhile, Sim said there are about 1,000 Malaysians still trapped in the KK Garden compound, which is surrounded by 4-meter-high walls and barbed wire. Well, he said among the torture methods were forcing victims to carry 20 liters of water up and down 2 flights of stairs. There's also the water torture, beatings with plastic pipes, and being tied to the bunk beds for over a month if they attempted to run away. Well, Perak Pakatan Harapan PH and Barisan Nasional, or BN, have agreed to form a consultative committee to ensure the stability of the state government. Well, in a joint statement, both parties said the formation of the committee was a symbol of their commitment to upholding the decree of the Sultan of Perak, Sultan Nazrin Shah, that political stability should always be nurtured to ensure economic prosperity and the well-being of the people. Now, Perak PH Chairman Dato Sri Dr. Mujahid Yusuf Rawa and State BN Chairman Dato Sri Syahrani Muhammad said both parties agreed to ensure that the state government remains stable until the end of the 5-year term by joining hands in upholding the state constitution. They also agreed to strengthen Perak with economic activities and generate state income through government administration practices that are clean, transparent, fair and responsible to all the people, regardless of race and religion. Now, both parties will also strengthen and utilize media channels on all platforms more effectively to convey information to the people of Perak in particular and Malaysians in general about the policies and achievements of the state government. Biden promises to continue backing Ukraine. That and more coming up in the foreign segment. Well, the UN Security Council adopted its first resolution on Myanmar in 74 years to demand an end to violence and urged the military junta to release all political prisoners, including ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi. Now, Myanmar has been in crisis since the army took power from Suu Kyi's elected government in February last year, detaining her and other officials and responding to pro-democracy protests and dissent with lethal force. Now, the 15-member council has long been split on how to deal with the Myanmar crisis, with China and Russia arguing against strong action. Now, they both abstained from the vote on Wednesday, along with India, while the remaining 12 members voted in favor. Now, Russia's UN ambassador, Vasily Nebenzia, said Moscow did not view the situation in Myanmar as a threat to international peace and security, and therefore believed it should not be dealt with by the UN Security Council. Well, until now, the Council had only agreed formal statements on Myanmar, where the army also led a 2017 crackdown on Rohingya Muslims that were described by the United States as genocide. Myanmar denies genocide and said it was waging a legitimate campaign against insurgents who attacked police posts. Now, the only other resolution adopted by the Security Council was in 1948. This is when the body recommended the UN General Assembly admit Myanmar, which was then Burma, as a member of the world body. Well, U.S. President Joe Biden promised his Ukrainian counterpart that Kyiv will, quote, never stand alone, unquote, as Vladimir Zelensky took a hard line on the return of old territory seized by Russian forces. Now, Biden also made clear to Zelensky that there were limits to the type of support that can be provided to Kyiv without risking divisions among its allies.
Russia is using winter as a weapon, freezing people, starving people, cutting them off from one another. It's the latest example of the outrageous atrocities the Russian forces are committing against innocent Ukrainian civilians, children, and their families.
Well, Zelensky, who primarily spoke through a translator, made clear that he will not be pushed into a settlement that leaves Ukrainian territory, well, some of which Moscow claims to have annexed in Russian hands. Well, the Ukrainian leader also expressed his gratitude to Washington for agreeing to provide the advanced Patriot air defense system as part of a $1.85 billion in military assistance announced in parallel with his visit. Meanwhile, Zelensky received a standing ovation from U.S. lawmakers before addressing a joint session of Congress in Washington.
Ukraine holds its lines and will never surrender.
Well, Zelensky is in Washington for his first overseas trip since Russian leader Vladimir Putin launched a full-scale invasion on February 24th, upending the global economy and leading to thousands of deaths. Russian President Vladimir Putin inaugurated the Kovgita natural gas field in eastern Siberia that will allow Russia to increase its exports to China amid soaring tensions between Moscow and the West. Well, according to Putin, the Kovgita gas field, the largest in eastern Siberia, has about 1.8 trillion cubic meters of recoverable gas reserves. Now, well, he said the launch of the field will give a serious boost to the economic development of Russia's eastern regions. Now, the Kovgita gas field has been put into service, said the CEO of Russian energy giant Gazprom, Alexei Miller, after Putin gave the green light for the inauguration. Now, bringing Kovgita into production comes as Russian gas exports to Europe decrease following soaring tensions since the beginning of Moscow's offensive in Ukraine. Now, Russia does not have pipelines to transport gas from its western Siberian and Arctic gas fields that have served Europe to China, but around a decade ago began efforts to develop new fields and build the power of Siberian pipeline to deliver the rapidly expanding market. Now, the first Power of Siberia pipeline went into operation and began to ship gas from eastern Siberia to China at the end of 2019. Now, Moscow plans to build a Power of Siberia 2 pipeline, yet another sign that Russia is looking to China in the face of Western sanctions. Well, Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador said he would uphold diplomatic ties with Peru a day after Lima announced that it was expelling the Mexican ambassador due to his country's interference in Peru's domestic affairs. Now, López Obrador has repeatedly backed ousted Peruvian leader Pedro Castillo's angering Peru's new government, and officials said Castillo's family had arrived in Mexico on Wednesday to receive political asylum. Now, a day after Peru declared Mexican ambassador Pablo Monroy persona non grata, López Obrador said Mexico would not break off relations. Earlier, a senior Mexican foreign ministry official, Martin Borrejo, said he had welcomed Castillo's family to Mexico where they would be granted political asylum. Now, the family had been staying at the Mexican embassy in Peru. López Obrador has also said Mexico's doors are open to Castillo, who is currently serving 18 months of pretrial detention under investigation for rebellion and conspiracy. The ALMA telescope in the Chilean Andes has resumed operations nearly 2 months after shuttering due to a cyber attack. Now, ALMA, the world's most powerful telescope for observing molecular gas and dust, studies the building blocks of stars, planetary systems, galaxies and life itself, according to the European Southern Observatory, or ESO, its co-operator. Now, the 29th October attack on ALMA's computer systems affected various critical operational observers and servers and computers, the observatory said in a statement on its provisional website. Now, the cyber attack forced the suspension of astronomical observations, left the observatory with limited email services and its website offline. Now, the computing staff took immediate countermeasures to avoid loss and damage to scientific data and its infrastructure, said the ALMA statement, which made no mention of the author of the attack. Now, the incident is being investigated by the Chilean police. The ALMA telescope boasts 66 high-precision antennas spread over distances of up to 16 kilometers that allow it to detect distant galaxies forming at the edge of the observable universe. It is built in one of the driest places on Earth, in the Atacama Desert, more than 5,000 meters above sea level. In April, ALMA helped find the most distant galaxy candidate observed to date, some 13.5 billion light years from Earth. In sports, Faisal Halim strikes in Malaysia AFF Cup campaign opener. Stay with us. Well, forward Faisal Halim's second-half strike earned a new look. Harimau Malaya a 1-0 win over Myanmar in yesterday's AFF Cup Group B match at Tuwuna Stadium in Yangon. Now, in a match dominated by Kim Pan-gon's team, Faisal scored the only goal of the match in the 52nd minute. Faisal rifled home the ball past Myanmar goalkeeper Kiao Zin Pyo after receiving a pass from captain Safawi Rasid. Myanmar were awarded a penalty in the 89th minute, but the Malaysian goalkeeper Ahmad Shian Hazmi Mohamad parried away their attempt. Meanwhile, Pan-gon praised the fighting spirit of Harimau Malaya players after clinching the away victory against Myanmar. The Pan-gon admitted the slim victory at Tuwuna Stadium did not come easily, especially when his boys had to go through an arduous time by playing in quite different conditions than usual. But at the same time, Pan-gon admitted his squad did not show the best performance and felt that the luck factor was also on their side. Harimau Malaya will next entertain Laos on Saturday at the National Stadium in Bukit Jalil. Well, it said the success of defeating Myanmar was the best motivation for the team to face the rest of the group competition, especially the two bitter matches against Vietnam in Hanoi on 27 December and the final action against Singapore in Bukit Jalil on 3rd January. Well, Barcelona and Poland striker Robert Lewandowski won the 20th Golden Foot Award at a ceremony in Monaco yesterday. Lewandowski, who helped Poland reach the World Cup last 16 before being eliminated by runners-up France, joined Barcelona from Bayern Munich at the start of the season and currently tops the La Liga goal-scoring list with 13 strikes. Now, the annual award is given to an active player over the age of 28 after an online vote by fans and can only be won once. Mohamed Salah won it last year, while Lionel Messi, who led Argentina to World Cup glory on Sunday, has surprisingly yet to win the award. Now, created in 2003, the award was first awarded to Roberto Baggio before being won by Pavel Nedved, Andrei Shevchenko, Ronaldo, Alessandro Del Piero and Roberto Carlos. Now, the winners list includes Ronaldinho, Francesco Totti, Ryan Giggs, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Didier Drogba, Andres Iniesta, Samuel Eto'o, Gianluigi Buffon, Iker Casillas, Edison Cavani and Luka Modric. Well, World Cup winner Lionel Messi has reached a deal with Paris Saint-Germain to stay with the club for at least the 2023-24 season, according to a report from French daily Le Parisien on Wednesday. Now, a 35-year-old forward, 7 times winner of the Ballon d'Or, helped Argentina lift the World Cup trophy by beating France on penalties on the final on Sunday. Now, the paper said in early December, in the midst of the World Cup, an agreement was reached for Messi to stay on with PSG for at least one more season. PSG were not immediately available for comment. Paris Saint-Germain president Nasser Al-Khelaifi said this month that Messi was happy at the Ligue 1 champions, adding that discussions about a contract extension would be held after the World Cup. So Messi, who has 12 goals and 14 assists for PSG in all competitions this season, moved to the French capital from Barcelona in 2021 on a 2-year contract. Sevilla have announced that midfielder Isco has left the club, mutually terminating his contract after less than 5 months. Now, Isco, who has played 38 times for Spain, joined Sevilla eager to revive his career, having been a fringe player at Real Madrid in recent seasons. Now, Isco was widely regarded as one of the best attacking midfielders in Europe when he joined Real Madrid. However, the 30-year-old Isco scored only 1 goal in 19 appearances for Sevilla, and since the arrival of head coach Jorge Sampaoli in October, he has been his playing time drastically reduced. Well, his contract at Sevilla had been due to run until June 2024, but was brought to an early end on Wednesday. Now, the club said in a statement that Sevilla FC and Isco have agreed to terminate the contract that united both parties since the players from Malaga joined the Nervionenses club last summer. Now, Serie A heavyweights Juventus and Napoli have been linked with a move for Isco, who is also reportedly drawing interest from Premier League sides Aston Villa and Wolves. Sevilla have endured a difficult campaign, winning only 2, drawing 5 and losing 7 of their opening of 14 league games. They are 18th in La Liga.
Kecemasan, boleh saya bantu?
Hello, there's been a motorcycle accident here. Maybe an elephant ran it over?
Sir, there is fire accident at the address number 5 Jalan Tembika, Shah Alam.
PGO from FRT Shah Alam, there was no fire accident here. Over.
MERS 999. Use it wisely.
And that ends updates at noon. And wrapping up with a reminder of our top story, flash floods warning issued in 6 states. Well, tune in to news at 10, coming up at 10 p.m. on saluran Berita RTM. I'm Muhammad Amin Carlos. And here's wishing our Chinese family and friends happy winter solstice, and to all, salam perpaduan.